Agradecido que ve este lindo y bello país.
The entire world is packed. They're traveling, making their way to America. The world is coming to America before inauguration, January 20th, 2025. Can mass deportations really happen? Can we really round up a lot of the undocumented illegal immigrants, illegal aliens? Can we really deport? Can this really happen? In a word, yes. 2 words, hell yes.
May 1954, the U.S. Border Patrol announced Operation Wetback, a campaign to deport Mexican workers who were in the country illegally. The program succeeded in rounding up over 1 million people, most of them men. Just 2 years before Operation Wetback, the Border Patrol had deported half as many people. This new policy marked the beginning of modern deportation raids and the militarization of the border that we are familiar with today.
Hello, friend, and welcome back to The Conservative Poet with me, Amania. As you know, on this channel, we talk everything politics, reactions, political commentary, a little bit of humor, some parody to drive home the crazies that we are seeing in the society. So, if you're back, that means you enjoyed the content. So, help me out, friend. Like, share, and comment. That way, other people can find the conservative poet and they can enjoy this awesome content that we're putting out. So thank you very much for your participation. Again, like, share, comment. It all helps me out. Without further ado, we're going to get into this video right now. The world is paying attention that Donald J. Trump, President-elect Donald J. Trump, is now going to be taking over the insane asylum that was America. And so the world knows that this small window between now and January 20th is their opportunity to get in while the getting in is good. So we have a surge of illegals on their way to our shores. Will the Biden administration handle this? Well, they have failed to handle this for the past 4 years. Again, I would be remiss if I did not iterate this moment once again that Joe Biden and his administration said to those people across the pond and everywhere else across the world that America is not building walls, but indeed they are building bridges. And so our friends around the world has taken it upon themselves to get onto those roads and bridges and make their way in. So, we're going to talk a little bit today about the migrant situation that we are facing. And we're going to go back into history just a little to understand how is it that we opened up our doors for workers to come in, but those workers decided to stay. And so they became illegal immigrants in this country. During the war, when our men were away protecting other countries and other countries' wars, the government decided that it would be a great idea to bring in Mexican men to work our farms, to work our land, which makes sense. We have no men to work it. And I actually just had a horrible thought. We had no slaves to work it. It's true. That's my thought. That was my thought. But in any event, it's true. There was no men to work it, and there was no slaves to work it. So they had to find labor from somewhere else. So they enlisted the help of Mexico, and the two governments came up with an idea that they would bring in laborers from Mexico, and those men would work our lands and everything else, our crops, our farms, and so on. And so they brought these people in legally for them to work for periods of time and then renew their time and so on. And they would have them live here temporarily, and then they would go home. They'd be here, work, go home, work, go home. That was essentially the plan. But what they failed to realize is that these workers, they may want to be a part of the American dream as well. They may not want to just go back to Mexico. They may want to stay here and start their own families, or bring in their wives and have their families, because their wives were left behind. So that's why they would have to go back to their families. And it was like, this is crazy. We should be able to have our families here too. We're building this country, and so therefore we deserve some. So some of them decided not to go back, right? And so those people became illegal aliens, because they were no longer authorized to work here. So some of them were legal because they were still doing the process, but some of them who decided to not go back home, and maybe they brought their wives over, well, they were living here illegally. And so that became an issue. And well, at some point, the government had to get involved, and they had to round up a whole lot of people and deport them. So, right now, we're going to take a look at a historic clip that lays the foundation of why we are here today, and why this very minute, as I'm making this video, there's hundreds of thousands of illegals on their way to our shores. The problem this time is, these are not migrants. These are not people that we've contracted to come here and work. These are flat out illegal migrants.
In May 1954, the U.S. Border Patrol announced Operation Wetback, a campaign to deport Mexican workers who were in the country illegally. The program succeeded in rounding up over 1 million people, most of them men. Just 2 years before Operation Wetback, the Border Patrol had deported half as many people. This new policy marked the beginning of modern deportation raids and the militarization of the border that we are familiar with today. The U.S. Border Patrol carried out Operation Wetback to respond to the unintended consequences of another American policy, the Emergency Farm Labor Program. During World War II, when the U.S. economy faced an acute labor shortage, the U.S. and Mexico established a binational agreement to import temporary workers to harvest American crops and maintain and repair American roads. Though the agreement was initially supposed to relieve the wartime labor shortage, American farmers developed a reliance on imported farm workers and had the program renewed repeatedly for 22 years. Between 1942 and 1964, the Bracero program, as it was popularly known, brought over 4 million Mexican men to the U.S. through renewable 6-month contracts. The program intentionally recruited only men as a way to safeguard against their permanent settlement in the U.S. It was assumed that men would return to Mexico to be with their families. Yet some women also came in search of employment, as did many men who were not able to secure Bracero contracts. The program thus inadvertently led to the dramatic increase of illegal Mexican immigration, as many migrants discovered that U.S. employers had a strong demand for Mexican labor, and many would hire them with or without legal work permits. During these years, the nation lived uneasily with the contradictions of its immigration policy and labor needs. The Bracero program revealed American employers' desire and demand for low-wage immigrant labor, but less interest in actual immigrants who might settle and become part of the citizenry. The program thus conditioned Mexican migrants, both braceros and unauthorized immigrants, to work for temporary periods of time in the U.S. and then return home to family. In fact, this was the pattern of many Mexican immigrants for numerous years. American enforcement policy, however, had to reconcile the high demand for the importation of hundreds of thousands of workers with the deportation of those who came without contracts. Deportations inflamed tensions between agribusiness and federal authorities. Large agricultural companies wanted cheap labor, while the Border Patrol and Immigration and Naturalization Service, the INS, felt compelled to respond to American citizens' growing anti-immigrant sentiment in the early 1950s by tightening their control of the border. For years before Operation Wetback, agribusiness used its economic power to control the U.S. Border Patrol's enforcement of federal immigration law. On some occasions, Border Patrol and INS officials would simply look the other way when they encountered undocumented immigrants, or, in some cases, legalize them on the spot to avoid disrupting an employer's workforce, especially during peak harvest seasons. Operation Wetback was supposed to mark a shift in these power dynamics by diminishing agribusiness's control and asserting federal authority. The tension between employers looking for cheap labor and the federal government enforcing immigration laws remains today. U.S. employers' ongoing demand for low-wage immigrant labor is undeniable, especially in agriculture, food processing, construction, and service industries. Immigrants continue to do the lowest paid, least prestigious work, as they have long done. The restrictive immigration policies that prohibit so many of them from entering the country legally, however, have resulted in an estimated 10.5 million people living in the U.S. without authorization. This is based on statistics from 2021. The accompanying aggressive deportation policies of recent administrations have meant that such people are living very tenuously in the U.S., with the constant threat of being removed and separated from their families. During his 2012 campaign, for example, President Barack Obama promised his administration would focus on deporting, quote, criminals, gangbangers, and people who are hurting the community, end quote, rather than hardworking people who are contributing members of their communities. Yet the president, or deporter-in-chief, as immigration activists came to call him, oversaw the deportation of over 3 million people during his tenure. This was more than any of his predecessors, or in any other period in U.S. history so far. 2/3 of those deported had no criminal record, other than the civil violation of being undocumented.
Friend, are you exhausted with the gaslighting from the left? Because I know I am. And sometimes it can be a tad bit stressful. And in those moments, I whip out my patriotic candles and I burn for freedom. I burn for our country. And I get a little bit of relief from the insanity that's coming from the left. So today you can get it 30% off at the Orlando Patriot. Grab yourselves some candles to relieve your stress as we hone into this election and it's becoming more and more stressful. Grab some for your friends, family, even grab some for a liberal or a leftist because they are stressed out too. So 30% off orlandopatriot.com. I'll see you there. Thank you. I really appreciate your help. So there you have it. This is how it all began. They needed work, and America had the work and needed their help. And it continues today. We still need migrants to do work, and they still need the work today. There needs to be some kind of system put in place to allow migrants to come in, laborers, if you will, to come in and help us with the work that we need done. Or we can just put Americans to work. I'm just saying. Some of the work Americans don't want to do. And some of it they do. For those jobs that Americans don't want to do, and it has to get done, I have no problems, no issues with bringing people in who don't mind doing the work. But there has to be some sort of legal process, not just them walking into the border and being put to work. There's got to be some sort of legal way that we know exactly who is coming. And if it's going to be put them in some sort of housing setup for whatever organization they work for and so on, to make it, good for everybody. And if they have their families, then that's another story. That then all of those needs to be worked out in this agreement with these people, with these laborers. Now we're talking laborers, people who come here to help us, not those who come here for other reasons. And these people have to be skilled. We should be able to vet them to know that they can do the work. Again, they need us and we need them. And as you saw in that little documentary there, the bigwigs, the farm owners and the big companies and corporations, they like it. They like the cheap labor. They've always liked it. That's why they extended it for 20 years or so after it was no longer needed. They like cheap labor. And so this has continued, and it fuels the broken immigration system that we have. So the government's fighting with the companies, and the laborer is left in the middle. The migrant laborer is left in the middle while these two giants duke it out. These two giants need to come together and figure out a plan that works best for all three parties. Actually, four parties, because we, the American people, have to have a say in all of this as well. So the government, the companies, the immigrant, migrant, laborer, and we, the American people. Everybody needs to come together to have some sort of plan come together so that everybody is on equal footing. And therefore, those people, if they are coming from Mexico to come to work here, then they understand that you're not coming for an eternity. You are coming to do a service, and for that service, you will be paid equitably. Well, maybe not equitably. Who knows? I don't know. You will be paid accordingly. And that's where the relationship begins and it ends. Everybody needs to be on board. Migrants need to understand this is what's being offered. They're not offering you, the American dream. And companies to understand, we're working with you to bring labor in so you can produce, so you can have goods to sell to provide the American people with what they need. And bills need to be put in place through the government that this is what we're doing. Legislation needs to be put in place that this is what we're doing. And the American people vote on it. Right? At least that's, in my thoughts, a place for us to start. Again, for just the people that's coming in to labor, where we have contracts, just like in the beginning, contracts with their country to say, yes, we will take some of your people and bring them to America to work. But the foolishness that we're seeing at the migrant is not what I'm talking about. Here's what that looks like. That's not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
Clase obrera.
¡A la clase obrera!
¡Los migrantes!
¡Los migrantes!
¡No somos criminales!
¡No somos criminales!
solidarios, somos solidarios, que así vamos a... Tenemos un destino y el único destino lo tiene Dios preparado para cada uno de nosotros, pero sí queremos estar allá y luchar y el propósito de cada uno. Y si la presidenta Harris gana la presidencia, nosotros pues estamos tranquilos porque Donald Trump no los quiere allá.
¡Viva México!
Agradecido con este lindo y bello país.
Seen that, heard that, good. This, friends, is insanity. This is mass exodus from other countries, and they are laser focused bullseye on the United States of America. And that's what's happening. That crowd had multiple colors, creeds, women, men, children, babies, pregnants, all of this on their way to America. And these friends are not the laborers that we have contracted with to come here. These are people who are fleeing their country because there's no opportunity there. Or their leaders are corrupt and has not provided them opportunity there. Because there's opportunity everywhere. We all are in the same earth. There's different functions of the earth to make it work wherever you are. There's certain things that the people in the desert can do. There's certain things that the people in the mountains can do. There's certain things that the people near the beach can do. There's certain things that anywhere you go, there's opportunity to do stuff, to build, to create. But everybody believes that the land of opportunity is America. So everybody heads there, as opposed to working in their own land to do something for their own country. Everybody is abandoning their country to come to America. But America cannot take in everyone. And that is the truth, and that is the reality. We are a country that needs to protect its citizens, just like other countries protect their citizens. China protects its citizens. Do you really think that this foolishness could go on in China? That people could be walking into China the way they're walking into America right here? Like, no, that doesn't happen. And yes, there are definitely some woke countries who will say, yes, you can come on in. The problem is once they bring in all of these people, their countries transform, these people violate, just like here. Now, we're not saying all of them, obviously, but a good majority, a lot. They bring their own traits, their own ideas, their own bad habits, and they're good habits too. But what we're seeing here, friends, is incredible. So the caravans are on the move. As you saw, they are making their way into America. And they're probably, of course, going through Mexico. That's all of that was happening in Mexico there. They're coming in. So can we rely on the Trump administration to do a remain in Mexico like he did before? Or will he pull the Obama? Because from what I understand, Obama deported more people, more illegals than any other president in history. You know, that bit that we saw back then where they riled up 1 million illegals, that's nothing compared to what Obama did. Obama riled up millions. And so it can happen. So Donald Trump promises to remove and deport a whole lot of these people. And friends, we're not talking about the people who are here with documents that they are able to work, they were brought here just for these purposes. We're not talking about those people that's on the TPS program that's already been here, that's been established, and they're working. We're talking about those fools that you're seeing walking across that border. Those people that we just watched. Those are the people that has to be roped up. Pardon the analogy, roped up. But yeah, they have to be gathered up, and those are the people who has to be returned back to their country. Because we can't take in everybody. We can't feed the world and still take care of its citizens in our own country. Did you hear what I just said? We can't take care of, send billions and billions of dollars out there to these countries, but yet their citizens are coming to our country. Why are we sending money out there? No, we shouldn't have to send money and then take them in as well. It's crazy. And we're bankrupt. We're in debt in America. We are bankrupt. Where are we getting money to send to all of these people if we're bankrupt? We're over $34 trillion in debt. So why are we sending money to Ukraine? Another $6 billion to Ukraine. Why are we doing that when we don't have any? We've got all of these people here, but yet we're sending money back home to them. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Here is a question for you, friends, for us to chat about in the comments. Do you believe that President-elect, God, I love saying that, President-elect Donald J. Trump, do you think that President Donald J. Trump will remove as many illegals as Obama did? Obama removed over 3 million illegals. So we know it can be done. Do you think President Trump can double that number? 6 million? The over 10 million that came in just these last 3 years under Biden? Actually, it's over 10 million. Wow. There's a title Donald Trump can take. Yes. I deported over 10 million illegals. I did better than Obama did. Dear friends, let's chat it up in the comments. I'll see you there. God bless you and keep you. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, like it, comment, because we're going to battle it out there. Subscribe, share, help me get this channel in front of other people so that YouTube knows that you like this content and other people will like it too. So help your girl with liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing, of course. I'll see you in another video.